Have you ever wondered why some design projects fail miserably while others achieve remarkable success? I have worked across different design industries for about 11 years, and design thinking is applicable across board. In this video, I'll be running you through the 5 processes of design thinking, and at the end, I'll tell you an amazing story that ties all the points together. Let's dive right in.
Audio Jungle.
Design thinking is an iterative process, meaning it involves repeating and refining steps. What that means is, for example, let's say you're in the empathize stage. What that means is you're trying to get to know the users and all of that, and then you've gotten to iterate. Let's say along the process, you find out that, oh, there's the missing information, you might need to go back. So that's what it means by iterative process. You might need to go back and repeat that process of empathizing again, really understanding the user. It recognizes that design is an ongoing and evolving process that requires continuous improvements. So it's not the like once you finish the process, that's the end. As you begin to launch the product, as users begin to interact with it, you find out new issues, pain points that you need to address. Designers iterate through the stages, gaining insights, testing, and refining their ideas, and making adjustments based on user feedback. This iterative approach allows for constant learning, adaptation, and improvement. It's a thorough back and forth, trying to redefine different stages along the process. To foster innovation and problem solving, design thinking fosters innovation by challenging assumptions and exploring new possibilities. What that means is when you embark on this journey of design thinking, let's say you have certain ideas about how something should work, which is basically a bias. You begin to realize along the process of design thinking that, oh, you know what, these assumptions that I've made based off my biases might not be right or might not be representing the users. Through that process, you'll be seeing new possibilities along the way. All right. It says it encourages designers to think beyond the obvious and come up with novel solutions. By the time you start encountering problems or situations that you've not been used to, you'll be forced to think outside the box. And this framework, by empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, testing, it will help you to come up with out of the box solutions. By focusing on user needs and understanding the pain points, design thinking helps designers identify meaningful problems to solve. The keyword here, or the keywords here, are meaningful problems. Because to be honest, along the process, you will find out that there are lots of problems. What I mean by that is, let's say you started out by designing something or by planning to design to solve X problem. By the time you start doing your research, by the time you start getting feedback, you realize that there are actually way more problems than you thought you would need to solve. And then you now need to prioritize, okay, which is more meaningful, which addresses the most people, which covers the majority of the users that will be interacting with this product. The next point here is the process of ideation in design thinking encourages out of the box thinking. Like I said earlier, the process of ideation will make you think outside of the box. By the time you encounter issues you've not seen before, you'll be forced to try things differently. This process doesn't only work for new design, even if it's a redesign. When you want to explain it, if you can break it down into these stages, then you will sound more professional. So stage one is empathize. The empathize stage involves understanding users and their needs, understanding who is using the product and what the product wants to solve. Designers engage in research, interviews, and observation to gain deep insights into user behaviors, emotions, and motivations. We've gone into research extensively, and this is basically what empathizing means. It means like putting yourself in the place of the person who is going to use the product and seeing how they feel, what their motivations are, what really would make them want to use that product. By empathizing with users, designers can uncover unmet needs and define the problem's space. Over the course of you doing your research, you realize that the problem you initially wanted to solve might not be the major problem or might not be the only problem along the way, and then you'd have to try to understand which one really addresses your users or which one needs to be of more priority by the time you are designing. Define, which is the next stage, is where designers synthesize the research findings and define the problem statements or design challenges. So what this big grammar means is where you try to distill all the information you've gotten, where you try to make sense of it. All right. During research, you get different kinds. You get quantitative, qualitative, you get many surveys. Here, you are trying to like define what exactly are this set of people saying that can be tied together. What exactly is a major touch point that I can start to build from? That is what is going to inform your problem statements or your design challenge. After that, you create your persona. So as a designer, you create a persona and the user stories. I think I showed us the persona in the last class. Or then your user story is basically capturing the user, logo, and why. The who, the what, and the why. So those are like the major components of the user story. Take Uber, for example. If you were to do a user story for Uber, you say, as an accounts officer, I want to get a ride that will get me to work. So as an account officer is the who. I want to get a ride to get me to work is the what you want. And then the why will be so that I don't get to work late. By the time you come up with like different user stories, when you're designing a product, chances that you would have several user stories based off your research. And then that would inform how you start to think about the features you want to add that will solve these whys. It's usually the why that is the user's concern. The what is a means, but the why is their problem. You solving that why is what will help the users. For example, a worker that wants to get to work. Getting to work is not a problem. You can get to work with bike, you can get to work with public bus. Why does he want to get to work fast? So that he's not late. So now what you need to solve is how to make sure this guy is not late. That is your priority. Finding the problem helps guide the design process and ensures that the solutions are user-centered. That would ensure that whatever you are designing is not based on your biases or your assumptions, but is based on what the user really needs. And that's what you are doing at the defining stage. Ideation is the stage where designers generate a wide range of ideas. Consists of brainstorming sessions, sketching, and other creative techniques are used to explore multiple solutions. The focus here is on quantity and variety, encouraging divergent thinking and differing judgments. You have empathized, you've gotten a lot of information that you can work with. You have defined the problem. You have the problem statement. You have created a user persona of some person that has goals and ambitions, right? Has pain points. You have itemized your user stories. Okay, so now you start to, this is the ideation, is the brainstorming period. The process of iterating, you can do random sketches. You can do something called crazy eight. So basically, you're just coming up with as many ways to sort this problem. So by doing this, you're just thinking on creative ways, nothing concrete, nothing serious at this point, just creative ways on how to address those whys in your user stories. The focus is on quantity. Prototype involves building tangible representations of your design ideas. What that means is fleshing out your ideas. So in the ideation stage, you were trying to come up with different types of ideas. In the case of Uber, this person needs to see a map that will show them the closest person around them. It needs a map feature. The user needs an in-app chat page so that they can be able to relate with the driver to know when they arrive. And they need a payment function too, so that paying will be seamless. You get to do all that in the prototyping stage. This prototyping, I would like to break it down into three. The low fidelity includes sketches, wireframes, paper prototypes to quickly test and iterate the concept. It is very important that in this prototype stage, and not even in the end, the latter part, which is where you start to do your interactions and all of that, but even at the low fidelity, it's easy for you to quickly run this idea through your stakeholders. That, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Does it make sense? Does it resonate with you? What do you think about it? Is there something we can add to it without investing much, so that by the time you give them feedback and they're like, you know what, this direction is not working, you're not invested enough to be frustrated, unless you have absolutely no choice. And what I mean by that is, the person has said, see, maybe they're out of time, it's like an emergency. The next stage after your prototype, so remember, we have empathized, trying to understand the user's problem. We have defined the problem, coming up with problem statements, coming up with user personas, coming up with user stories. Ideated, you've done the crazy eight, you've done your different kinds of card sorting and brainstorming of different ideas. You've been doing your prototype. As far as I'm concerned, this prototype and testing is like a Ferris wheel. Like, it's always back and forth, right? So let's just define it here. So it says testing involves gathering feedback from users by exposing them to the prototypes. Like we said earlier, it involves gathering insights. It is important that at every point in time, you are having these discussions with your clients. Designers observe how users interact with the prototypes, collect insights, and analyze the results. We've gone through different kinds of tests, usability testing. This is where you'd really be using them. Collecting insights is very important. This stage helps to refine and validate the design solutions, ensuring that they meet the needs of the user.
Sarah's giving her used bike to her younger sister, Mora, but it needs a new seat because it was chewed by their puppy. A group of their friends from school decided to look at this using design thinking skills, using empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. To empathize, they asked Mara different questions and they watched her get on and off a bike. To define, they looked into different types of bicycle seat designs. They took photos and they looked into different materials. To ideate, they tried either going with a new or salvaging the existing one. They also looked into different constraints. During the brainstorming, they came up with different ideas about the material, different people. They also asked questions, they came up with different sketches also. They also went to a bicycle repair shop to try out different seat frames. This led to different sorts of possibilities, but that's important because you need as many ideas. They listen to all the ideas without judging or without any form of bias. With the best ideas, they began to prototype, trying out different combinations of materials, wools, foam, sponges, a mixture of other things. To test, they asked Mora to sit on different seat frames and they asked her lots of questions to generate new ideas for other prototypes. After several prototypes and iterations, they were able to come up with a fully functioning prototype, which Mora absolutely loved. This was an amazing process that took a lot of time, a lot of open mind, and constructive design teamwork. A critical part of the design thinking process is the prototype, and in the next video, we'll be looking into low fidelity sketches and wireframes. You should also check out the last class on UX research as a refresher. See you in the next class.